Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to be able to speak to you today. Thanks for taking the time. Huge congrats on this series. It just feels so fiercely original, not just for its kind of genre, this mystery thriller, but also how it's exploring all these really pertinent questions about our relationship with technology, how we deal with grief and loss. But then there's this kind of undercurrent of comedy too. Maybe to start with you, Katie, when did you first discover this book, The Dark Manual, and what made you think, this is going to work really well on a screen?
The novel was sent to me by my agents, and it was interesting because I had never written anything vaguely science fiction before. It's not a genre that, I like it, but it's not a genre that I like live and breathe. But there was a kernel within it that really spoke to me. This central character of Susie Sakamoto, who has just experienced kind of the most tremendous loss possible, and who has built up this kind of prickly emotional armor as a sort of self-protective mechanism. And I was really interested I'm always interested in stories of sort of like how people cope in times of loss. And there was this robot character in the mix, and I thought that was like had tremendously interesting potential. And so I did a lot of research into a field of robotics called HRI, or human robotics interaction, which looks at the ways in which like robots can sort of make our lives potentially better, and that they can work as these kinds of like transitional objects or surrogates. For people who have undergone loss or trauma or depression. Because when you're in one of those states and you've kind of gone inward, interacting with another person can feel quite scary because it makes you vulnerable. But a robot isn't going to like break your heart or break up with you or die, like, so that you can start to become comfortable again with interacting with them and get back in the habit and build up that muscle memory of like interacting with people. And so there's lots of this like happening in real life. So I was like, what if we take this idea and put it into this scenario, change Sunny from a male robot into a female robot, and sort of like explore themes of loneliness and loss and female friendships within this like sci-fi thriller in near future Kyoto.
But of course.
But of course.
Great answer. And I guess for you, Lucy, what was the appeal of like taking on this project and putting together this phenomenal cast, particularly at the center of it, Rashida Jones? I mean, she really nails both the sort of emotional journey elements, but also these comedic beats. So, what was it like working with her in particular?
Yeah. I mean, you said it. That's exactly why we cast her. And it's also the very reason that I was drawn to the project is I think this sort of, I'm very drawn to things that don't quite fit in like neatly into boxes and that have like tragedy and humor and they're challenging and entertaining in equal measure. And Katie's writing just like grabbed me immediately, even from the outline before that there was a script. Like I was just reading this outline and just it was a page turner in itself, but it was an outline for a show. So yeah, I think sort of the tone and the story and this like these very complex female characters, one of them being a robot, was just something I hadn't seen before. It felt very fresh. I was very intrigued to explore Japan and a culture I didn't know particularly well. So yeah, it was pretty dreamy.
And in terms of the takeaways, I guess it does have all these universal elements to it, but it really does also embrace its setting in the sense of, perhaps this tension sometimes there is in Japan between this really rich cultural heritage, yet it is really forward thinking. It can feel very modern, almost futuristic when you're there sometimes. So that was also a real element that was played upon it in the series.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, yeah, so important when building out this near future world, imagining like what might be different and what might be the same to the Japan that exists today. And I think like something that was very exciting was the opportunity of doing a near future show, but set in this ancient city. Like it's almost always Tokyo when you think of near future or future Japan, and so that was really exciting to explore that tension between old and new, and I think everything sort of from a very like early playlist of music that I put together that was kind of drawing from this like nostalgic 60s pop music that we then kind of used as a jumping off point to then explore things like costumes that had 70s spear point collars and like this sort of colorful these colorful Japanese noir movies by Seijun Suzuki, like Tokyo Drifter, that we then like really Katie ran away with and wrote it into episode 4 in the cold open. There's this like homage to that movie, and so yeah, it was a sort of really fun world to create, and yeah, one that I don't think any of us had sort of experienced or seen before. So yeah, it was quite a journey.
But thank you so much for sharing all that with me, and I really can't wait for everyone else to see Sunny. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.